So I faced a lot of adversity this morning and last night. Watching the football game, I broke my necklace somehow and I lost my Troy grip shirt. But there's no place to come to overcome those odds and channel my inner Russell Wilson than being with Marty Keary, who owns the Old Daley Inn.
One of the owners.
He's one of the owners. He's a co-owner as well as a partial owner in Focusmaster Fitness as well.
That's right.
Marty, I've been anticipating this interview for a very long time. I'm glad to have you here.
Well, thank you, buddy. I really appreciate it. I know we've been talking for a long time about getting together.
Now, my first question here. What is the secret behind constructing the perfect fire? Because look, when I go to build a fire in the winter, because we have a long winter ahead of us here, a long, tumultuous winter.
Yep.
And often when I go to construct a fire, it's a smoke show. The smoke detectors start going off, and I'm getting angry and throwing things.
Yep.
How do you do that?
You got to get a little paper and let the oxygen in, baby. Let the air in. That's what you do. It's got to be flowing. Just like life, it's got to be flowing, baby.
That's right. Don't suffocate.
Don't suffocate the fire.
That's our first theme for today, Leslie. So I'm an OCD clean freak who does in fact evaluate restaurants based on their cleanliness.
Yep.
How do you guys maintain such an immaculate level of cleanliness here on a consistent basis?
We got a great guy named Nick Valenti. He's got a lot of grit, and he does some great work for us. He's been with us for a long time. We call him a houseman, and he just basically does everything that we need him to do around here, and he's great at it.
Well, he's tremendous at it. I mean, look, if I'm having chicken wings here, and I drop a chicken wing on the floor,
it's gone, baby. It's gone.
It's not gone.
It's not that Nick comes in and cleans it up, but it'll be gone.
I'm picking it up and eating it. I am confident in Nick that wing is going to be clean.
That wing is gone.
Yeah, it will get swept up too. I mean, I'm looking over at the floor here. There's a lot of luster there. It's just...
Yeah, we do the floors every couple of years, and these are the original floors that were here at the Crooked Lake House, and these are all the floors. The big bands played in that room right over there. Tommy Dorsey, Benny Goodman, Glenn Miller, Guy Lombardo. They all played on that stage over there, and everyone danced on those floors right there. We've had an amazing history in this place. It's just incredible.
There's a lot of history embedded here, and that's something we'll touch on later on. But cleanliness always enhances the restaurant experience. I lose my appetite when a restaurant is dirty, but when it's clean, food tastes better, the air is fresher, the water tastes cleaner, and I can't thank you enough.
Well, you get along well with my wife. She shares her OCD.
She does? She does.
Yeah, she cracks the whip here, so you can bet it's going to be clean.
Oh yeah, Jan and I would get along very well. So in the early 2000s, the Old Daley Inn pivoted from being a steakhouse in Lansingburg to a catering business.
Yeah, that was... Go ahead.
What was the underlying reason behind that change, and how did you guys orchestrate it?
Well, you know, we wanted to make a shift, and at the time, I was in the insurance business for 10 years before I became a partner at the Old Daley Inn. But I had been at the Old Daley Inn on weekends waiting tables, even when I was in that business since 1984, and it was my second family. So in 1999, my partner Gene Coletti, who started the Old Daley Inn when he was 20 years old with his brother-in-law, when he started, they had a fire there. Let me go back a little ways. In the original days, before it was the Old Daley Inn, there was a fire there. It was a 499. And when Gene's dad owned the Old Daley Inn before that, when it was the 499 house, and Gene's dad was a surgeon in Troy, Dr. Coletti, many people know Dr. Coletti. And when they had a fire there, he reinvested in the place, got it all back together, but decided he wasn't going to open it. So Gene decided he was going to open the place with his brother-in-law, Jeff Fowler, his wife Dana, his sister-in-law Ann, his brother Donnie, and the Coletti family. And they opened this great restaurant that was just absolutely top-notch, steakhouse, seafood place for almost 30 years in Troy. And a lot of the chains started coming in the early 90s, and things kind of leveled off for Fine Dine for a little while. And we decided, we made a conscious choice to go all catering, which was a big decision for us. It wasn't an easy decision for us. And Jim Pettit, my partner, took over with Stephanie. They helped Gene in the catering area. They came in and partnered with Gene in the catering so that they could really get that part of the business going. And I decided to leave the insurance business after 10 years and join these guys in doing that endeavor. And you know, for me, it was a huge jump. It was a huge risk, but I knew that I loved that industry more than I ever loved the insurance business. I'm not a desk guy. I never was a desk guy, but I did it. My father was in the insurance business, and it was just kind of what I feel I had to have some kind of profession when you get out of school. So, but it wasn't for me. So this was for me. And the whole hospitality, I was in my blood since I was 16. I was in the kitchen when I was 16, so it was part of who I was, and I loved hospitality, and I loved people, and I loved being out front. So when I joined those guys, became the three of us, we brought Gene in on Focusmaster, which my partner Jimmy and I had invented the Focusmaster G1000 machine in 1993 in Jim's dad's basement in Lansingburg. And that was a great thing for us too. And Gene is actually a black belt in martial arts as well, so he fit perfectly into Focusmaster. And he knew me since I was 18, so he trusted that I would be a good partner within the group as well. And my partner, Jim Pettit, he's been my best buddy since the 6th grade. He got me my job at the Old Daley Inn. He started there as a dishwasher. And he told Gene and Jeff, when he started there, he said, someday I'm going to own this place. And here's that someday.
That's remarkable, and it's really visionary. No, you guys were ahead of the curve. You envisioned an opportunity that others couldn't see.
Yeah.
You capitalized on it, and here you are. I mean, you're competing with Zone for the best hospitality company in the area, and it was all because you located that opportunity back in the 2000s when nobody else did. I mean, that industry that the Old Daley was involved in was starting to decline, and this one is starting to incline with the catering.
Right.
You guys noticed that early on, and bang, here we are in this monstrosity of a building.
Yeah, and when we started, Gene had he leased the building to another restaurateur, and it went back to be called 499 House for a while, and we were in this little second kitchen, we called it. It was literally a 400 square foot kitchen that we started doing the catering out of because the restaurant was leased, and we were ready for our own big catering place. And so there was the old beverage center on the bottom of Northern Drive that was for sale, and our buddy Tim Bean, he said, guys, you should look at this place. I think it might be perfect for catering, you know. And we went down there, and it was an empty shell, but it gave us the opportunity to create the environment that we wanted to work in, that we wanted our people to work in, and one that we were familiar with, in that the Old Daley Inn was always a place of friends and family, and friends of friends. We just had a great organization where everybody loved each other. It just seemed to work out really well, and the vibe was always good, and that's what we wanted to carry forward, was the vibe of what I grew up in, and what I felt, and what everybody else felt around me was such a great thing. We wanted to carry that forward. So when we built our place on Northern Drive, we put the stereo system in, we put air conditioning in because we were working in a 90-degree kitchen. So it's every hospitality person's dream to have a kitchen that is outfitted for the art of what we do. And we said we're going to make it a great place to come to. The music is going in the morning, everybody comes in, and I believe that that energy transfers into the food that we sell and everything that we do.
It does. You know, the music always energizes me. You always want to work for a company that has an atmosphere like that.
Right.
You know, you're loose, you're energized, you're galvanized, and it really does translate into the work that you produce. So that's why people like Zeke and I like to come out here, and a lot of people like to make the trip because this is a pretty secluded area out here in West End Lake. Like to make the trip to the Old Daley on Crooked Lake for a dinner.
Yeah.
And that's why, to feed off of that vibe and transfer it into our lives.
And this is a place that we fell in love with. We first looked at this place in 2005, and it was for sale, and it was twice the price. It was out of our reach at the time, but we always wanted to have another home that reminded us of the old restaurant. And this place, the history of this place is similar in nature to what our building in Lansingburg was. The building that housed the Old Daley in Lansingburg was built in the late 1700s. It was one of the first buildings built in Lansingburg. And it was a hotel, and it was a stagecoach stop on the way to Saratoga for travelers. And this place, the Crooked Lake House, was also a stagecoach stop, a hotel on the way to the Berkshires in Massachusetts. So, kindred spirits, and they both had a rathskeller, and it just reminds us, and it makes us feel like we're at home.
It is very symbolic of your building down in Lansingburg. I really do feel that vibe. Now, for a young whippersnapper like me, describe the dynamic of the Old Daley Inn Steakhouse in Troy for somebody that wasn't able to experience it, because, you know, I haven't seen shit in my life, only one of them.
It was packed. We had nights down there that we would be going in. You know, dining was a lot different in those days because people would stay out till 4 in the morning. I mean, you know, and we were one of those places where I'd be bartending there till 4 in the morning, and there'd be only 2 customers left. So those places are kind of going away. But it was one of those places that everybody could come to before, during, or after. It was one of those that everybody knew everybody, the bartenders, the waitresses, and it was one big family. And people kind of were very attracted to that. And I think they still are. And Troy is still that special place.
The generation probably contributed to it as well. You know, I'd say that you're in the same age bracket as my parents.
Yes.
And your parents, you know, Ron and Pat and whatnot, I mean, those people, they knew how to party back in the day. So definitely, I mean, I've gotten stories from my father about how neighbors would be over at their house, and you know,
it was
they're drinking beer, and the kids are coming downstairs.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was just a different.
I'll tell you what, I know it definitely was. It certainly wasn't like today, and you know, there's some good things today. There were some great things about days going by, that's for sure. But it's all about relationships for me. And
it is.
The reason that I sit here with you today is because we established a relationship, and that's what got me to where I am. It wasn't my education that got me where it was. It was being good at what I decided to be good at. And hospitality for me is the best thing because I could use my natural abilities that, you know, of generally friendly person, and that's what you want to go out there, and that's what you give to people. And it's not just the food, it's the service, man. It is the service, and it's all about the service to other people, to humanity. So it boils down to the same thing in everyday life and everything that you do in the entrepreneurial world.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You've got to bring your heart, you've got to bring your spirit to it for it to be truly successful, I believe.
It's all about intangibles.
Yeah.
It's about having juice, about having work ethic. It's about being obsessed with your craft, relentless. You know,
pick your craft, choose your craft wisely. You know, my advice to somebody that's younger than me is go after what you love to do.
Yeah.
It's your passion, because if you don't have your heart into it, you're not going to be fulfilled by it. You've got to have your heart into something to be fulfilled by it. And I think it's all about that. We come here to be fulfilled and to fulfill others with our gifts. And I think that's what people, when they grab onto that, they do feel good about what they're doing. They're giving of themselves. And, you know, the hospitality business is all about that.
And I had that same feeling. When I leave here today, I'm energized because I gave. My spirit was active.
That's right.
I contributed to something that's
right on.
more than myself. I went valedictorian in high school.
Yeah.
But I don't have the same galvanizing spirit as when I leave an interview, because I really just...
You learn so much from other people.
Absolutely.
And so if you stay in life with just your perspective, you're never going to learn anything. And so one of the things about the hospitality business and growing up in it is you meet every walk of life, every personality, every race, color, and creed. And the one place that I have found that everybody gets along is the hospitality business. There's no judgment in there. Everybody's good friends. And so I think that's a good microcosm for how you deal with your life, is to say, no matter who you are, everyone's got a heart, everyone's got a soul, everyone's got a spirit, and that's what you focus on. You don't focus about politics, you don't focus about all this other stuff. You connect. You connect with people.
No matter what their background is, I mean, no matter what football team they like,
doesn't matter.
We all have that commonality.
Sure,
and that
you can have fun with your friends and the football stuff, but when you get going too much with it, then you're attached to something that is limiting you from creating more friendships, more relationships, more opportunities for yourself, because you're not limiting yourself to one choice or one agenda or one group. You can't do that. You've got to be open.
Right, Zeke? I mean, you can attest to this. We talk a lot of shit on Sundays, don't we?
Always.
But at the end of the day, we're all one unit. That's what matters.
And that's what we got to get back to.
Now, the story behind the conception of your book, Words from a Friend, is simply fascinating. And it would be more impactful if I just leave the floor to you to explain that story, because you'll do a lot better than me.
Yeah, you know, that one was, I didn't expect to write a book, to be honest with you. I started writing inspiration on Facebook because I was in a deep depression. I had gone through, and I suffered from anxiety my whole life, and I know so many people that suffer from it in silence. So I want everybody to come out of that, because you've got to come out of that. You've got to own it before you can release it, right? Like any fear, you've got to own it, look at it for what it is, and then do your best to release it a little bit more every day and bring in the good stuff. Because the more fear you release, the more light you let in, and the better we feel, and the better we get along.
Absolutely.
So my book, I was in this dark depression, man. It was lasted me for about 6 months, and it was the worst place I'd ever been in my life, really the worst place. And I know where people have gone to when they get really depressed, because it's ugly, right? So I didn't know what to do. I'd gone to the doctor, I'd gone to the other stuff, I'd been and done therapy and all that other stuff to try and get my mindset back, because all of the books that I had read that brought me to be able to write inspiration, like hundreds of books that I'd read before that, because of my anxiety, because I wanted to help myself, because I would always be in the self-help aisle, because I wanted my mindset to match my heart, right? And not be in fear in this lifetime, because it stifles your grit, it stifles your mojo, it stifles your life force. So fear is the enemy. Gandhi said fear is the enemy. Hatred is part of fear, and hatred comes from fear. But so does depression, so does lethargy, and all this other stuff. So I knew all that, and I knew I was in the pit. And I said, what can I do for myself? What can I do for myself more than what I'm doing? Running and exercising and all the other stuff. And it still wasn't enough, so I started. One day, a voice came in my head and said, start writing. And I go, writing, I don't know writing, right? And I woke up one morning, and I was just in a shitty mindset, panic, the whole thing, and I started writing what my mind, what I had learned, I started writing it back to myself. And then I started noticing that once I picked up the pen, it wouldn't stop. So I kept writing, and soon I shared it, my first post on Facebook. Now before on Facebook, it was just, run-of-the-mill stuff, out with friends, you'd have your pictures and stuff. But I posted something about love on the first post, and I started getting a lot of reaction from it. So I knew a lot of people were feeling the same way I was. So I kept writing. So for 2 years I wrote every day, a few posts a day, some to the chagrin of everybody around me, because like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Get back, we're going to do all this other stuff. But I had to do it. And that's the way I felt. And so after 2 years, I got this message from my wife's first boyfriend. Now, my wife's first boyfriend did not like me at all, because they had broken up and I was the next guy in the seat.
You're on deck.
I was on deck, and I planned to stay. My wife is such a great person, a great gal, and I love you so much, but he was this big rugby football player, and West Point guy, and I was this kid from Hudson Valley playing hacky sack, not having a life in front of me, So, and doing my best, working at the Old Daley, the whole thing. And so for me, when he reached out to me for a friend request on Facebook, this is 35 years later, so, and I look at it and I chuckle, because I'm like, this guy is, I go, that's funny. I go, of all the people that I know, that I go, I really don't like to have enemies. That's not my gig. I'm true that way. I just want to have friends. And so this guy, he reaches out, but I go, I just can't do it. Can't do it. This guy was just, it was not a nice time, right?
Yeah.
Short time. So 2 weeks passed, and I had ignored the friendship. 2 weeks passed, the friendship request comes up again. And I go, all right, you're trying to tell me something now. So sure enough, I say yes. A couple weeks passed, and he's been reading my posts, and he reaches out to me privately, and he said, listen, I've been reading your posts, and he said, and they're incredible, and my wife loves them, and my wife is the president of a 3-woman publishing team out here in Ohio, and she publishes wellness books, health and wellness books, and she wants to publish your book. And I go, book? What book are you talking about? He goes, do you have a manuscript you can send to her? And I go, manuscript? I go, I had Elise Testo, one of our event planners, print off 2 years worth of Facebook posts. So I had like this thick, I put it in an envelope, and I sent it off to Ohio going, okay, well, if this is going to be a book, let's see.
There you go.
Here it is. And Pam and her team are just such amazing gals. They are just, you talk about women being powerful, they are just a great group, man. They knew what to do. And I said, what my idea for this would be is just like the same thing that I do every day, is that it's a daily devotion to yourself, and that you read it, and then they say what you want to do, Mark, is put a call to action to actually make that, so more personal, and that you think about that for the day. No matter where you are and what you're doing, you think about that lesson for the day, and try and put it into your repertoire. Try and put it into your toolkit of humanity, right? So, 16 months later, we had the final book, Words of Our Friend, A Daily Guide to a Purposeful Life. It's a book that's 365 daily entries in there, messages about every facet of life that I could think of, that I was dealing with my whole life, and how you can bring love to it, and how you can bring the power of positivity to it. And your heart to it, because people don't talk in that language. People talk in the language of ego. They talk from their personal standpoint. They believe from their personal standpoint. But when you want to go out into the world, you have to listen to other voices. You have to learn. And so listening is learning, right? So I do my best in meditating and listening. And what comes to me, I write about it. And this book gave me an opportunity to let all of that anxiety that I had built up in me for so long, it gave me an opportunity to get it out there and say, this is what we can do about it. And this is what I've done about it. And this helped me to get up and out of it. And so my book is very precious to me, and I know what to do.
And you have to dare yourself to implement the lessons in it. And then you really do, it transforms your life after a while. And I'll never be one of those guys that say, wow, this book changed my life, because there's a lot of factors that are incorporated into it. But
you changed your life.
I changed my life. It definitely was a lubricator of it. I mean, my life was never the same after I picked up in my grandparents' house.
Yes.
For the first time last year, just out of curiosity. You know, it's like one of those things you see a magazine. Like I saw you on. I'm like, oh, Marty's book. Let's read a page out of this. And the information on the page was just really transformative.
Thank you.
I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I have to read this every day. So then I began to practice the ritual of reading a passage to both my grandparents every day. My grandparents love it. They absorb it, and it's amazing when you actually do see changes in your own life unfold. That's how you know, wow, well, this formula really works.
Right, and it's called alchemy. You take your love, you take your spirit, and you put it, you infuse it into your work, and then you infuse it into your everyday. Infuse it into the food you make, infuse it into the jokes you tell, infuse it into the relationships in every one. And you can't go wrong.
And you're more consistently, you're more consistent overall.
And that's what it is. It's consistency. Consistency in any direction is going to bring a great result for you. Whether, when I say great result, consistency in a negative direction is going to bring you crappy results every time. Okay, you can't be consistent in negativity and expect a great life. You can't. You got to be consistent coming from the heart. And the heart is what breeds positivity. And the heart isn't just a muscle; it's a vessel of energy within inside of us in our center. And we know when we're centered, then we're calm and we can talk to anybody about just about anything. But when we're outside of our center, we get frazzled, we get fried, and we get frustrated, and then we're not our best selves. And you know, that's okay, that's human, that's humanity, you can be that. But come back to the center and know that that's where you've got to come back to. Know that's where your relationship has to come back to. So if you've got apologies to make and that kind of stuff, forgiveness to forgive, that's how you get back together. So those two tools alone, apology and forgiveness, have brought me more happiness than
and you become more familiar with that center that you're referring to as you employ this practice more and more in your life.
Like anything else. Like when I play the guitar. It's just like that. It's no different. It's learning to play new notes. The new notes being your spoken word, the thoughts you decide to act on, the thoughts you decide to let out of your mouth, right? And the behaviors that you are known for, right? What are your behaviors known for? Being open and kind, and that be your message to the world. And that's what I hope my message will be.
And what was so you have the book over here. This year you unveiled a podcast, which I listen to every week on riding my bike. What was your strategy behind that?
I've been wanting to do that for a long time, since my book. And it was one of those things where all the other business around me was preventing me from getting into it. And I said, that's it, I'm just going to do it. And my daughter, Katie, she works for the Alzheimer's Association. She is a care consultant. She goes out and talks about all the things that the Alzheimer's Association has to offer. She was up in Saratoga one time, and she happened to meet this podcast guru that happens to live in Saratoga. His name is Mike Lenz. And Mike is just the stand-up guy of the century. He's one of these guys that couldn't help me enough. And I hired him to do the consulting for me and to get me set up in my own home so that I could podcast. And he taught me how to do it. And I am no computer guy. Like I said, I'm hands-on, I'm out. I like to be out front.
Yeah, me too.
So I am not a computer guy, but he told me how to do everything. I got myself a Mac and got all set up to do it. And so that I call it Wardrobe Studios. It's my wife's walk-in closet with all her clothes keep the sound down. So and now she's kicked me out of it, so I got to find a new studio in the other room that Katie just moved out. So we're going to put it in there. But at any rate, this was Mike told me, he goes, go into your closet where you got a lot of clothes and you record in there. And I go in there, and my wife goes, how long are you going to be in here? I have to get some. This is Wardrobe Studios right here, recording live from Wardrobe Studios. But it is, and that's what you got to do. You can't wait till you're fully ready and you're already out there to start something. You've got to just start.
You do.
You just got to start. So I said, I'm going to do it. I went in and I said, I'm going to do it as part of my book. And continuation of that, I'm going to read some pages from my book and then just go off script and talk about it and how this is going to be able to help you. Just as it helped me, and it can help anybody because we're talking about the power of love.
Now, what is Janice's reaction? You know, like, say theoretically, you know, it's morning time. She's preparing for the day. She's going to go get dressed. She walks in and she hears you in the closet. Damn, he's going again.
Oh no, I pick a perfect time on a Sunday, and then I let her know. So you know, they're anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. So it doesn't take me that long to do it. So I wait till she's outside doing something.
You go on, and she's going to go out for lunch.
Yeah, or the dogs are outside too. So it's one of those things where you really have to find the sanctuary to be able to do it because your mind has to kind of be right in it to do it. So
because I've been waiting for that.
Yeah.
I've been waiting to listen, and all of a sudden I hear the door open. Marty, I have to take a shower.
Believe me, I've been waiting for it all the time. Anything can happen there, and I go, when I'm getting on a roll and I'm really involved, and I go, I need a shirt.
But you know what? You're right, though. It's all about acting.
Yeah.
It's all about just going for it and then making amends, making adjustments from there because
self-correction.
You're going to fall on your face.
Yeah, and you are. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what walk of life you're from, man. I've fallen on my face a million times, and you just got to get up. Like I think it's the Chinese or Japanese say, you fall down 7 times, you get up 8, and you just keep moving. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to help each other. We're here to help each other grow, and we're here to help each other get up and move forward. And so that's what my mom taught me to do, and that's what I do.
And it's definitely coming to fruition here. So I have a multifaceted question here. Number one, where do you derive the information, material for Words from a Friend? And how do you incorporate the revenue generated by it to the Alzheimer's Association?
Well, that was always one of the things because I always looked to my mom as my spiritual mentor, my biggest one. So she taught my sisters and I just how to love and how to be loved and how to give love. And her mother was the same way. So I always wanted to make my book, no matter what I do, I really want to have some kind of a give back feature to, you know, something. And Alzheimer's Association being what my mom passed from it and her mom passed from it was the biggest one for me. So when the book first came out, we invited the Alzheimer's Association up here, and then they asked me to be on the board because, you know, they loved what we were doing with the book, and that has been a great experience for me. And from that, my daughter Katie, she's a purposeful person too, and she loved her grandma, and she got a part-time job there, and then they hired her full-time. Now she goes out all over the capital region in nursing homes and hospitals, and she talks to all of the people that have just been diagnosed. She's talking about the people who are interested in what they should do, because when people have Alzheimer's and they get it, people really don't know what to do. I didn't know what to do, and so you have to learn on the job. But the Alzheimer's Association, man, they just do it all. They help you to get everything set up. They help you to get through those things that your mind will tell you you're never going to make it through. So I ask anybody who has any questions about Alzheimer's to reach right out to the Alzheimer's Association. They're just an amazing organization, and I hope that people give to the Alzheimer's Association because it affects so many people.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see that you incorporate them because it's really purposeful, and Alzheimer's can be a daunting challenge because it's unpredictable.
It is.
I mean, a person you've loved for your entire life
just doesn't
remember
you
you.
anymore.
Yes, right. So it's good to see.
We need to put a lot more money towards that.
You do. It's one of those. You know, that there's so many heralded purposes out there, which are great, but Alzheimer's gets put on the back burner, and I hope that will just be brought above the surface a little bit more than it is.
No doubt, we're trying to do that.
The one lesson from your book that really resonated with me is the crooked path to success. I'll never forget the day that I read it. The reason why it's so transformative is because through schooling and whatnot, you're always instructed about this linear path, which is simply inaccurate and not applicable to the constantly evolving life that we live. How were you first revealed that truth of the crooked path to success?
My life as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
My life as an entrepreneur, and me not wanting to sit at a desk. I had sat at a desk for, you know, a good 10 years, and it was, my creativity was stifled, and I really wanted to get back to doing that. I was a cartoonist in high school, and I always just loved art, and I always loved creating things and building things that haven't been built before, and making unique stuff, and like Lucky Lester in the very beginning, and that was a great project for me, and it was such an amazing time of my life. I was young, 23 years old, and I was at Hudson Valley Community College going for banking, insurance, and real estate to go into business with my dad. And I had this crazy dream one night that I was at like the Scatico Fair or something, and I had bought this giant rabbit's foot for a friend of mine. I brought it home, it's going to bring all kinds of luck. It was crazy. I woke up that morning chuckling, and then I went to class that day, and I was definitely not a college student by any means. I was the Ralphie in the Looney Tunes commercial, their cartoons, watching the fish tank going, oh, I could be some deep sea divers. For sure. So I started sketching in class while the teacher's teaching, like I used to do a lot. And I said, no, it's not the giant rabbit's foot. It's for those folks who need the luck of the whole rabbit. And I pictured the rabbit being from his back foot, hanging from that keychain from the original Lucky Rabbit's foot, but the whole rabbit, giving him a character. So I drew that, and I said, what could his name be? And I come up with Lucky Lester. It's for those folks, he's the luckiest little charmer for those folks who need the luck of the whole rabbit. And so that was the theme of it. And I had a kid that was a couple years younger than me, draw the package for me. He was just such a great artist, and he drew the packaging. And then it just kind of came to life. And I made the first prototype, because I'm big on prototypes. Make the first prototype. No matter what you're doing in life, make a prototype. If you're starting out, you've got an idea. Try and make one the best you can. And so my mom's mom was a seamstress, and we were living over my grandmother, taking care of her because she had Alzheimer's at the time. And so I had that machine set up. My mom set it up for me, and I went to the craft store, got all the stuff, and I made my first Lucky Lester prototype. And I loved it, and I said, this is going to be, something great. And my partner, Gene Coletti's brother, Donnie Coletti, at the time, had created his own thing. He's a creative guy, too, called Palm Ball, and it was a handheld leather trampoline tossing game. And so we partnered together and formed a company called Troy Toys. And Lucky Lester, we ended up having made for us overseas. We had a company in Townsend, Vermont called Mary Meyer Toys. And we found them because I was in the mall and I saw those, remember those Hallmark stores that have the moose with the big paws that are kind of floppy at Christmas time? They had lobsters and stuff. So I picked up one of these lobsters. I go, who makes this stuff? And it said Mary Meyer Toy Company, Townsend, Vermont. I go, that's not far. So Donnie and I drove to Townsend, Vermont with our concept, told them what it was, and they loved it. So they went about having it made for us. And we started hitting our first gift shows. This was a brand new world for me. Going to New York City, I'd never been there before, and I'm 23 years old, and we rented a booth down there at Javits Center, and we were just this little company. And then Mary Meyer Toys decided to bring us, we got along so well, they had us come down to their booth. So now we're in a big toy booth. We've got Lucky Lester in there, so we started to get some action. We ended up selling about 3,000 of them to CVS's and Hallmark stores and stuff like that. And then I kind of got into some other stuff, and that kind of just went away. So I wasn't as committed to it at the time, but I can tell you this, the experience alone is what propelled me to the next thing, and to the next thing. So these are all stepping stones. So don't ever judge where you are. You're making those stepping stones. You're trying, you're putting your effort into it, and stay the course on those things. Stay consistent on doing something. 5 things every day for the love that you're trying to put into something. 5 things a day, and those add up over time. And these are the things that you learn from the self-help books and things like that. Get some. Go out and buy some. Do something different than what the world is teaching you. Right? Be yourself. Come from your own heart, and create what's in here. Right? That is going to make somebody laugh. It's going to bring some joy to their life. It's going to give them a good feeling of some way. So we always try to do stuff that feels positive, or it has a funny edge to it, or something that is going to just add some value to people's lives.
And it really is a crooked path. I mean,
It is. It's like this. It is like this. And even to this day in our business, listen, we've been in business for 45 years this October. The Old Daley has been in business for 45 years. And we've never seen anything like what we're going through right now. The hospitality business has never seen anything like we're going through right now. So, Godspeed to all of my friends and brethren in this business. We're going to get through it. We're going to get through it.
And you've adapted.
You have to adapt.
It's been remarkable to watch this summer. And the minute I heard of everything closing down, I said, Marty Keary is definitely going to assemble a comeback here. And I noticed that you were quiet on Facebook for several weeks.
Yeah.
Look, there's definitely something fermenting in that head of his. And then,
well, it's not just my head. I am surrounded.
Great people.
I'm surrounded with the best people. And and I can take no credit. I can't take the credit for everything that you see here. Believe me, there's some amazing people around me that can take a lot more credit than I can for this. My partner Jim, his wife Stephanie, my wife Jan, Jean, Dana, Coletti, and all of our family, and all of the people that make this place run. It's them that do it.
It's all one.
I get to be the guy that goes around and shakes hands, and I love that. But it's these people, this family, that makes this place home.
You all understand your role. And
Yeah, we all have a role. We all stay in our lane. If somebody needs help in their lane, we ask for it, and we do it. And my partner Jimmy likes to call us Minutemen, in that we have the freedom to do all of our own talents within the business and other things, and to bring new things to the world. But when we are called and we're in a situation like this, we're Minutemen, man. We all get into the foxhole, and we all do our best to bring ourselves to the top again.
Elevate each other.
We elevate each other because we have to. Because you get your mindset off, and it's so easy to get your mindset off these days. And this is one of those things that I always say, that I practice my mindset every day, because even to this day, my mindset can get the best of me. You know, the sun starts going away in the wintertime, it starts getting a little gloomy. You know, that has always had a little effect on me. So I try to do my best and go out and run and do all those things. And it's self-care. You've got to have self-care, especially during times like this, or you're going to lose it. And the best thing that we can have in times like this is connecting our heart to our mindset, giving ourselves the self-love, the self-care, and giving everyone else the same. And so that's what is going to sustain us through this. And then when we come out of the other side of this, everybody's going to be stronger in some way. Everybody.
So I can segue into another question from this here.
Okay.
You always reference looking for gold in undesirable situations, like COVID.
Yeah.
What gold nuggets have you been able to locate during this pandemic?
Summer Series was one of our gold nuggets. When we see the reason we didn't do things until late was because our people were still out on unemployment. We were trying to gather the core team back, and we didn't want anybody to, lose out on helping the families and whatnot like that during that time. And so we tried to ride that line of saying, we need you guys back. We understand that you guys need this money for your families and all that stuff. And our people are just troopers, man. They come back, and we have an amazing core team that no matter what, they are the Minutemen too. They will come back, and they will help us charge the end.
I think it's about time we put a shrimp on the bar right now.
Go right ahead, be my guest, buddy.
We're still warm, but we could take some rekindling. Where do you get this wood from? Because
it's the best wood in the area. It's my friend Dennis Tremont, right down here at Tremont Lumber. It's kiln dried.
Is that the one right from 66?
Yeah, it's right down here. You take a right at the Cumberland Farms. It's Tremont Ace Hardware.
Okay.
He's the greatest guy. He's helped us out so much while we were, getting started here, and even throughout. And so, one thing I love about Averill Park is the people out here, and the people on the lake that have supported us, and this neighborhood is just so peaceful, and the people are fantastic.
I've remarked about that. Averill Park is one of my favorite towns in the entire capital region, and just remarkable businesses.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the town tavern up the road. You have the Lakeview. Just amazing restaurants and great people.
You've got some great ones. You've got Kay's Pizza, home of Kay's Pizza on Burden Lake.
Kay's Pizza. That's one of my interviews. I want to interview I want to interview the owner of Kay's right before they open in the spring. That'll be a phenomenal interview.
Great people.
So it's question time. In your book, Words with Friends, I was informed about the ego, and now I was familiar with the word ego in high school, and the concept of it, but I never heard about it in the context in which you discuss in your book. And the way that there's multiple variations of the ego too, I was never aware of that. So how does the elimination of that ego help to facilitate daily operations?
Yeah, I don't know if it's so much an elimination of it, because you're going to have that your whole life, you know what I mean? And so it's a balancing act. It's really a balancing act. Now, ego, my favorite author of all time is Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer. And if you haven't read any of his books, get any one of them, and they'll just help your mindset immensely. And Wayne Dyer, he spoke about the ego in the way that he said it's edging God out, E-G-O, edging God out. And that means we're not coming from the heart when we're talking to somebody in a certain way, or we're acting in a certain way, or we're out of our mindset, right? We're out of our center, right? And that's generally the ego. It's the false self. It's the one that says, it's just me, I, me, and mine, right? Whereas the soul is we, us, and ours. And that my belief that we are all from the same source, the same giant soul, so to speak, and that when we're connected to that, we have great relations. And we're disconnected from that, we go back into I and my, which is the selfishness, which is the jealousy, which is the envy and the anger, and all of these things that we have, and we trap these energies inside of ourselves, and we live from them. They are like a computer program, and unless we clean out some of these viruses that control our mindset, our thoughts, our words, and our deeds, then we're really not being of service to ourselves. And we're not going to be of service to others if we're not first filled with love ourselves. We fill our cup first, and that cup overflows into the lives of others. Right? And that's my way of trying to go about life every day, is say, fill my cup first. I wake up in the morning, I give love to my family, my friends, my dogs, and I write some things on Facebook and try to get people to immediately have a good intention for the day. And I start my day with a good intention. My intention today is to live life to the fullest and to be good to other people. And those are two very simple intentions, and they can mean a million things during that day. But if I have those two going into that day, I'm at least helping to serve, and I'm helping to be of service and to be a beneficial presence while I'm here.
So it's all about minimizing the ego, not eliminating it, but minimizing it, because it'll always resurface at times.
We're going to express ourselves the way we express ourselves, but man, if we clean our own house inside first, we are going to be able to help so many more people. And it's not going to matter what walk of life they come from. It's not going to matter what political party they're in. If they're in some kind of trouble, I'm not going to be, I can't help them because they're this or they're that. That's just not the way, that's not who we really are.
No.
In my opinion, that's not who we are. So, it's all of that, and the ego is something that everybody's got to deal with, and everybody's been conditioned a certain way, whether it's from their family and friends and growing up in certain aspects of life that, were not great. And not everybody had love in their lives, and not everybody had loving parents, but most people have some loving grandmother or an aunt, somebody that showed them was their example, their best example of what love is. And that's what I've tried to follow. My best example of love was my mom and my grandmother, and that I'd never seen anything like it. So I try to adopt that, and I don't imitate it. And I think that's what we can do from each other. Say, I don't want to imitate anybody, but I will emulate the energy that person gives off because I love it and I'm attracted to it. And I think that it does people, it makes people feel good to be around it. And I think that's what we're all here to do for each other, is to raise each other up and raise each other into a new mindset that goes beyond the ego. I think there's phases that go beyond the ego that we're entering into. We're having an awakening, and so many times when something looks like so crappy, like what we're going on right now, well, the diamond is being formed inside that bag of crap. Just like the soil. Something's going to come up from that shitty soil, and it's going to be beautiful. And I think that's what's going to happen after we all come back together and say, we've had a rough year, man. COVID, shutdowns, all of that stuff. We've had it really rough. Everybody in all walks of life has had it rough. And so it is up to us, not up to a politician. It is up to each of us to do our part, to make America great. And that's it. In the greatest way. In the greatest ways of coming together.
But I firmly believe that we're like you said right there, we are incubating a diamond. Really,
the pressure.
We are pressure, and it all stems from pressure. But we're transforming as a country right now.
We're learning.
We're
learning right now, and there's some ugly lessons to be learned, and there's some ugly lessons that we have to take account for. And if we don't take account for ourselves, our own thoughts, words, and behaviors, then we're just part of the chaos. We're not part of the solution. Part of the solution is choosing love over fear.
And I think that that's the transition that us as America collectively,
we need to get rid of fear.
That's the process we're embarking on right now.
Right. We got to stop it. And I think that everywhere around the world, people are controlled by fear. Governments control people by fear, and they don't teach the good stuff. They're not up there to teach the good stuff. I don't know if politics teaches the good stuff. I've never seen it teach the good stuff.
I haven't seen it.
Right. So we have to rise above politics in order to be a great nation, yes.
And I think politics has to rise above politics.
And so does the media.
It's something that's more of a compass.
Tears us all apart.
Yeah.
It chooses sides in the ugliest of ways, right? It does, and it's like nobody wants that. Nobody really wants that, but we have been conditioned to believe that there is only two choices. In my book, there's one, and it's called love.
Absolutely. And I always wondered, I've always been fascinated by this concept of, I ask yourself questions. You know, you're off on a bike ride, you're thinking deeply, ask yourself, and it may sound cliche, I don't know, what if Democrats and Republicans collaborated?
Yeah, what a concept.
Like why, right? Like why is it competition?
Well, because we have prevented them from, we say don't cooperate. Their two sides are forbidden to cooperate, because if they do, that means that the other side is giving something up, right? But how about just what's best for everyone? We can find that way, but we're not talking. Nobody talks. And the only way is communication. The only way to have communication is to sit down with people above politics and say, all right, what's the goal? What's the goal? How do we get there, right? How can we get there where everybody seems to have a stake in it that everybody can live with, you know? And what's best for the people at large?
And
what's best for this country?
You know what else is always associated with the ego is this fixation on being right.
Well, that is
solution oriented.
Well, that is the big part of ego is I need to be right. The need to be right. The need to have credit. The need to be first. The need to win. All those things are great, but you don't need them. And my big thing is to become detached in a certain way, so that every time that somebody pulls a trigger that normally triggered you into your ego, you've got to learn to say, this person has control over me because this person can say a word and I am triggered, right? I'm out of my mind because of something somebody else said. Well, then I don't have control of my own shit. I do not have control of myself if somebody can trigger me with just words, right? And so that is where we have to stand tall within and say, I prefer peace. I prefer peace over argument. I prefer common ground. I prefer cooperation over competition. I prefer sitting down with somebody and saying, let's get to the answer to that.
And you reinforce that by assuming control of your emotions and subsequently your life.
That's right.
We were talking about that.
That's right. And so that's the problem, is that everybody thinks they've got the best idea, right? Or they are on the side of the best idea, which prevents and limits conversation. It limits it. So sides limit conversation. And I understand side, believe me, my ego has its own stake in the game because of the businesses that I have, and I need to have them flourish for my family, and my own family, but my family at large as the Old Daley Inn, and those are some of the situations I mean. But it doesn't mean that you give up your humanity.
No.
It doesn't mean that you look at people in a certain way or judge them because everybody's entitled to their own freedom and their own opinions and their own choices, but it doesn't mean we have to lord over others with them, right? You're entitled to yours, I'm entitled to mine. Let's be peaceful. Let's do that instead.
After that, you brush under the carpet.
How much time do we have here anyway? We don't have enough time to be this mean to each other. No, we don't. There's not enough time for that. We're supposed to be here doing good works, good things, and gathering people into that tent. Just goodness. No flags of this side or that side, or, shooting arrows at everybody, Hatfields and McCoys. Let's just try something new. How about that?
We have a window of opportunity.
We're being given a window.
And let's not forget about our original purpose while we're here, because it's easy to do.
Right. You're going to miss out on great people in your life if you judge them out of your life based on something like politics or something like the way they look, the way they dress, their skin tone. All of that, you miss out on knowing awesome people who are really heart-centered. And they have their own beliefs about things. That's fine. So do I. I don't want them telling me about my beliefs. They have your beliefs. I bet you we can still find a common thread.
Absolutely.
That we can get along under.
Because after all, we're all humans, and we can relate based on that.
Right. We are a family of souls that have been separated by fear, is what I believe.
So how'd your emphasis on relationships enable you to connect with Chuck Liddell in order to film Focusmaster Fitness advertisements? And how did you absorb that as an avid fan of fitness and MMA?
Well, I can tell you, Focusmaster has been one of the best things we ever created because he gave us such a fun ride. My partners and I, and what a great experience, 20 plus year experience with Focusmaster. Jimmy and I, we were into Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do in our early 20s. We were in martial arts and boxing when we were younger kids and early teens. And then we found Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do and we became huge Bruce Lee fans. And there was a couple local guys who taught JKD, which we found out. And so they started training us in Jim's dad's basement in Lansingburg back in the early 90s. And we did a lot of focus mitt training then, the focus mitts, the boxing mitts that you hold. So when Jim and I couldn't get together to practice with the mitts and our instructors weren't there, we wanted something that we could hit that had the mitts. So we built our first prototype of Focusmaster out of 2 4x4s with a bunch of holes drilled through them, mounted them to the wall, and we had those Joe Meter chest benders with the coil spring in the middle with the bike handles on the end that we used to do with them. Like, you're a little young for that. But we put 2 of them in the hole, we bolted a pad on the end, so we created this prototype of a machine that we wanted to build, and we loved it. It gave us lots of different combinations we could punch and kick while we were by ourselves. We said every martial artist would love to have this thing, and we wanted to make it obviously more of a commercial viable product than 2 4x4s with parts. So we went on about, we went over to Rio Welding over in Cajos, and Bobby Rio was a stand-up guy, great guy, and he helped us create what we had made out of wood into steel, but it weighed about 6,000 pounds when it was done, so definitely not commercially viable. But Bobby Rio put us onto this guy who had a machine shop in his basement in Clifton Park, and he said, I can build that thing for you. And he was full of piss and vinegar, and we loved this guy. A guy named Bill Diamond, and I used to get the steel from Albany Steel, truck it at my lunchtime when I was in the insurance business up to Clifton Park, bring it down his Bilco door in his basement. He would make 1 machine at a time there, and I would have to go back over. My father-in-law had a factory building over in Cajos at the time. He leased us a little room that we could start making stuff and shipping from there. And we went to our first trade show in 1996 in Las Vegas, a martial arts show. We had our first machine there, and we set it up, and we were just so happy to be there. And, we sold our first 7 machines at that show, and then we just kept developing and developing and developing it. And we started doing the trade show circuit, Florida, Vegas, California. We went to London one year. We just went everywhere with this machine, and we got so good at setting it up and demonstrating it, and we'd be weary at the end of the day because we'd be punching and kicking all day long. But in 2004, Century Martial Arts 2001 Century Martial Arts Supply, which is the largest manufacturer of martial arts equipment in the world, started putting on their own trade shows, so we started going to those. And Century approached us and said, we'd like to make your machine for you and help you sell it a lot more of them. And so we said, Century was such a huge company, we were these little guppy in the pond. We always thought they're just going to take the idea and the whole 9 yards. But they ended up being the best people in the world, and they took us under their wing. Had all of our stuff, and to this day they have all of our stuff made and shipped and distributed from Oklahoma. And one year in 2007, we were at the show, and just before that show, I was home 2 weeks before the show. I was watching Entourage on HBO.
Great show.
One of my favorites, right? And in this particular episode, Chuck Liddell played a character, and he played himself in that, and he was going to beat up Johnny Drama.
Of course, John fights him.
So and this was 2 weeks before the show, and Chuck Liddell was at the top of his game. He was the light heavyweight champ. Everybody was talking about Chuck Liddell. And I call up Jimmy and I go, oh man, if we could only get a guy like Chuck Liddell to promote our stuff. So 2 weeks later, we're at the show, and Century makes all the UFC gear too. So we got to meet all of the trainers and whatnot, but the MMA guys. But John Hackleman, who was Chuck Liddell's trainer, he happened to be at our machine in the morning because he had his own stuff that he was teaching and doing seminars and whatnot. So he was there before any crowd got there, so he was with his fight team there. And they were banging away on our machine, so Jimmy and I walk in, I go, you know who that is? He goes, who? I go, it's Chuck Liddell's trainer, John Hackleman. He goes, no way. So we go over there and we start chatting up with John. John is just such a great guy. And we started palling around with him for the day. He liked us because we were ball busters, and he was a ball buster. And they're from San Luis Obispo, California, Arroyo Grande to be exact. It's halfway between LA and San Francisco. And we said, John, we want to get Chuck on this machine. We want to get some video of Chuck training on it. We would love to do some business with you guys. What if we were to come out to California with a few of our machines installed, and could we get some video of Chuck? He goes, I can make that happen. So 2 weeks later, we flew out there, had the machine shipped out there. We hooked him up at the pit, which is his place. And we walk in there, and then Chuck Liddell walks in with his entourage. He's got his Focusmaster shirt on. And Jimmy and I are going, can you freaking believe this? And he starts banging away on the machine, and Jimmy's wrestling with him on the mat, and we're laughing like old school chums, you know, within the first day. So you're just terrific guys, these guys. And Chuck Liddell is just an amazing dude. And we ended up going back there the following year because we had come up with this other device that we didn't end up marketing because we had some manufacturing issues with. It was called the MMA Pro. And we were able to create a video, and I'll have to show it to you sometime. We were able to gather this group of great people in the MMA world to do this video with us. Bruce Buffer, who's the, the announcer.
Yeah.
Big John McCarthy, who is the, the ref, and Chuck. And we go down to Big John's. We drive from John Hackman's place. We flew in. We drive from John Hackman's place down to Big John's gym, and we got fog machines. I had a buddy that lived in California who was a videographer. I had him meet us there, and we shot this whole video of Chuck fighting the MMA Pro within the octagon that John McCarthy had in his gym. We got the fog machines going. Jimmy and I are on one end of the octagon, and Hackman's on the other, and Chuck Liddell's in the ring. And I go, 2 weeks ago, this was a wish. 2 weeks ago, this was a wish. And 2 weeks later, we're here with not only Chuck Liddell, but we're here with Bruce Buffer, and we're here with Big John McCarthy in a video that we couldn't have imagined being able to do 2 weeks ago. So that tells me that it's all about relationships, and it was, because John Hackman thought of us enough to reach out to his buddies in the industry and ask them to do this with us, and they did. And it was an amazing, amazing time, and I got to meet all these guys. And if you're a fan of MMA, there's all the other martial arts guys and the MMA guys. We got to meet a lot of them because we would go to the seminars at Century and meet these guys, and they're just salt of the earth. And the Focusmaster journey for us continues on now. My partner, Gene's son, Kyle Coletti, joined our team 7 years ago, and he came in to bring Focusmaster into the fitness world because we had been in the martial arts so long. He goes, guys, that machine is bound for fitness. It's made for fitness. And so we hadn't really thought about that. We had sold to some gyms and things like that, but we hadn't gone in that direction consistently. So Kyle moved up from New York City. He was a finance guy in New York City down at Morgan Stanley, and he was doing much like me in the insurance business. He would call me from the men's room because he couldn't talk in front of the office. All right, because he was making plans to leave that industry and come and join us as a partner of Focusmaster and take it to the next level. And what a guy this Kyle Coletti is. Anybody who trains down at our place on Hoosick Street in Detroit, the Focusmaster Fitness Studio, will tell you this guy is just top notch, much like his dad, Gene. And he took us in that direction, so much so that we did a trade show, a fitness trade show in LA a few years back, probably 4 years ago, and we were approached by Jillian Michaels, Talent Scout, to be in a new TV series called Sweat Inc. And it was with her and 2 other judges. The guy, Obi Obadiah, he was a fitness trainer, and then the guy that invented the TRX straps. Randy Patrick was the other one, and Jillian Michaels was a judge. So the object of the show was that 26 fitness entrepreneurs from around the country converged to bring their workout to be judged as possibly the next fitness phenomenon. So 26 entrepreneurs, Kyle being one of them, flew out to LA. Kyle had to put up 6 of our machines. He just had a baby, so this was a real tenuous time for him. But we said, we're going to do this thing. And we competed against some really strong competition. And the show was on for 10 weeks. It didn't get a lot of airtime at the time, but every week Kyle had the chance of getting knocked off the show. And every week he was winning. He was coming out. He was coming out on top. So it was in October of that year that the finale show, and you can watch this on YouTube, just type in Focusmaster Sweat Inc., and you can follow and you can see the grand finale where Kyle and Focusmaster won the next fitness phenomenon on national TV. And we won a contract to work with retro fitness clubs, and we won $110 grand, which allowed us to further our fitness endeavors. And then this with COVID, we decided to do some more online stuff because we had to adjust and we had to adapt for that. So Kyle put all online programming going on there, and it's been going tremendous. So that added a new diamond that we did not have before. It added a new thing for us.
And just think about when you map that whole story out, That's why it's important to treasure relationships. Think about how many relationships you just mentioned in the past 5 minutes.
Would never happen without it. And so that's the key. And, you know, I look back, I go, my mom had magic, and so did her mom. The magic was, you never knew the politics.
No.
You didn't know it. She was just the person that went around, and she blessed other people with, how can I help you? How can I be of service?
And that really has to be the vehicle that drives you through life. And then when you do that, you realize your world expands.
That's right. When you're a giver, your world expands. When you're a taker, you're in your own little box. You're in a box of fear. When you're just, your mindset can't be stifled. You've got to open your mindset up to your love. And once you do that, your whole insides expand. And opportunities come your way. And you start attracting new friendly people into your world because you're willing to give that. It's what you give is going to come back to you.
And that's the foundation of transitioning from being good, okay, content to great and having conviction, being the best, approaching that.
Yeah, not being the best at everything, being the best you.
Yeah.
Being the best version of yourself. Doesn't mean I have to be the best. Doesn't mean I have to win everything. It just means in this situation I'm going to be my best. And sometimes that's being a great loser. Sometimes that is. And you know what? That means great sportsmanship. One thing I do love to see in the MMA world is that, you know, these guys are crap talking the whole time, but at the end of it, they respected each other. They respect each other, that they were competitors, but they were in the same field. So, you know, we have so-called competitors in the hospitality business that we're all friends with because we're in this suit. We're in the suit together. So, you know, we've been calling each other and saying, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you going to do? Are you going to do this or that? And that's, I think, the way it should be. You know, restaurateurs aren't my competition. A lot of them are my friends. And the ones that I haven't met yet are also my friends.
I've heard that from other business owners before, Tony Buchanan being one of them, who often collaborates with Testos. You know, if you're lacking an ingredient here, Testos.
Can you imagine such a thing?
We're all working together.
Macy's Gimbals, right? Do you know that? Do you know that? Macy's Gimbals?
Macy's Gimbals. What is that? What is that?
It's an old movie, Miracle on 34th Street, where Macy's decided they were going to give the same deal as the person across the street and the whole thing, so that it doesn't matter where you shop, they're both kind of just, you know, they're not competing at Christmas time. They're deciding to just be givers.
They're supplementers, you know. They're contributing to
beneficial presents.
The spirit of Christmas time.
Right.
You know where else I see that I have to remark on is the SEC, the Southeastern Conference, Alabama, where I'm going to school.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some very passionate rivalries within that conference. I mean, you have Alabama and Auburn, you have Florida and Georgia, and their rivalries on the fields. But when the game concludes, they're all connected. They're all SEC. There's all that mutual respect for each other.
They're just athletes.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's what it is. The mutual respect is what we have to get back to, is that we're all souls. And we're all living different stories.
Yeah.
And so to involve yourself in somebody else's story is a giving nature, as it is. And say, I see what that person's trying to do, and I got some way that I can help them. Right? Much like you coming to do the interview today. You help me do that. And then in turn, I'll help you whatever you want to need help with, you know, and that's how we should be.
And I appreciate that.
So do I.
So the Old Daley Inn on Crooked Lake is open for about, 3 days a week?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, open at 5.
It's a very concise menu too. What's the strategy behind it?
Well, for us it was about being able to, you know, socially distance. That had to take down some servers and this kind of stuff. So we're trying to provide a meal that we can get out to you really quick with the amount of service we're allowed to have and the amount of people we're allowed to have in here. Now, as that loosens up, and I hope that will loosen up because something's got to happen for the hospitality business. We really are. It's a hurt business, so we want people to feel safe when they come in here. We want people to come back in and enjoy the Crooked Lake House and enjoy Daley's on Yates, and they are. And it is going like this now, thank God. But it is, you know, it's a road back. And so in that road back, you have to make certain decisions that will allow you to keep going. And one of them for us was, okay, we're going to have to obviously do all of the spreading of parts of the tables, and we'll have to cut down our staff a little bit. While we have a more concise menu, we always try to offer the best of whatever we have to do. And when we open up winter dining at the end of January, we're going to go back to our full menu. Hopefully we'll be back to at least, you know, 75% capacity. Hopefully back to 100% capacity by then, God willing.
Godspeed.
Godspeed, baby.
And I'll be there to contribute as well.
I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody that comes out to visit our places. We'd love to have you, and we take every precaution we can so that you are safe. So thank you.
So Troy Grit
Yes.
is a fascinating initiative that you just launched several weeks ago.
Yep.
For those who don't know, tell me exactly what that is.
You know, Troy Grit, you know, much like anything that my partners and I always said, you know, something that brings a feeling to you is going to bring a feeling to somebody else. And so while the COVID was going on, I was watching Netflix like everybody on. I think I watched every movie that Netflix has to offer, right? But I started watching some old movies, and one of them was True Grit with John Wayne. And I had never seen True Grit, and I started watching. I go, oh, this is great, and one of the greatest westerns of all time. And then I noticed there was a remake of it not too long ago with Jeff Bridges, so I was planning on watching that. And then that day that I was planning on watching that, I was talking to an old Troy buddy of mine, and we were just reminiscing about all the crap we used to do. And I said this on my podcast, and he said to me, you know, what a lot of people are just known in Troy for that, you know, they're great people, and they've just got that certain amount of stuff in there where they love each other great, but they take no crap at the same time. It's a good mix. All right, so as I'm watching that, I see, I laugh to myself and I say, that should be Troy Grit, not True Grit, because that's what Troy has. And so the next thought in my head was, I have got to find somebody that can draw that for me, because I want to see it. I want to see it on paper and see if that, what I'm seeing in my head would be as cool as what I think it's going to be. And so my buddy Mike Lewandowski, who was a middle school art teacher out here in Averill Park for his whole career, he produces, and my sister-in-law Jen Doyle, the other art teacher out here, they produce some amazing artists out here. And Mike has been a longtime friend of me, and he was an artist that did a book about Lucky Lester, believe it or not. My partner Donnie had needed a book illustrated, and Mike did that for him. So he was my go-to guy for any time I needed a logo for our business, sign for our new restaurant we were opening. I'd go to Mike for if it needed to be artistry. And so when I called Mike, I told him what was going on, what we were doing. He says, I'd love to draw that. And so he did, and he nailed it, and I loved it, and my partners loved it. And he said, let's do something for the community of Troy. And this would be a great opportunity to do that, and that Troy has always been known for that grit. And I wanted to celebrate the city that gave so much to us as a business, and my childhood was all in Troy. And some of the great people that have helped me along came from Troy, and my partners as well. My partner Gene, he's a Troy guy, hired me when I was 18, you know, so Troy Grit is as much about relationships as anything else, and that it represents coming together above politics, and that's what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be above politics. We're Trojans, we love this city, we want this city to thrive, you know, we want this city to thrive, but we can only ever do that together. We can only ever do great things together. You know, that's the way I think about it. You know, it's not just one person can be great on their own. Nobody can be great on their own. Everybody, it takes a collective of souls to come around that and to put the juice, help put the juice behind it. And that's been my experience. So Troy Grit is an extension of that for us. We've got so many great buddies in business in Troy, and we want to see them all do well. And so we wanted to give Troy a shot in the arm when it needed it most. Troy's had last year has been horrible, you know, shootings and everything else that's going on here, horrible things. So we wanted to do something positive for Troy, and we wanted to make people feel that power that they have within them. And in my podcast, I go on about saying that grit comes from the energy of love. Yeah. And that when you don't think that you can go another step, when I didn't think I was coming out of that depression, I had to pull myself up, and I had to dig for that grit. And that's what I try to do every time.
And that is exemplified so much in the city of Troy. Not only are there so many phenomenal businesses, I mean, you have Brown's, you have Ryan's Wake, you have Snowman, Jimmy's, B-Rads.
The best of the best.
And they're all rolling out another facet that they didn't know that they had.
They're adapting.
They're adapting, and it's very impressive to witness.
I see the tables out in the street down in Troy, all the restaurants that are doing that down there, the Plum Oyster and Vic's Place, and Christopher's Place, and Bootleggers, and all of those down there, Mud Daddy Flats. Everybody's trying to do their best to be more innovative, to bring people in when a time when people are a little afraid to come in. And so that's what we want to do, and that's why I think Vic went outside so that people can feel like, people just want to feel normal. Yeah. You know, and a normalcy. And normal used to be a year ago that everybody pretty much got along. Other than politics, everybody pretty much got along when you go out to a restaurant. There wasn't a lot of animosity, and I think that kind of built up over the year with all the stuff that's going on in politics. And I think that we really need to, and I think what you're going to see after everything goes on is that people are going to want to start coming together because everybody's sick of the separation. Everybody's sick of being stuck in their houses and not laughing out in public and going out places and going to games and all this other stuff. We all want to go back to that.
And that's why I endorse the opening of restaurants and the infusion of normalcy into the experience, because I just want to see people connect with each other.
That's right.
And this is a great avenue for it. So I'll always endorse that because it's great for mental health.
Yeah.
People are better when they're unified. We see on football Sundays.
Yeah.
I think that unity, society as a whole, really transformed when sports returned because there was some fabric there to relate on.
Yeah, to grab
to relate upon.
Because when everything has been so uncertain, you want some certainty, some things that make you feel certain again. And certainty comes from knowing who you really are, to me. And so knowing that you're a piece of this whole, and that we are all a piece of this whole, we're all a fragment of one big ocean that I said. And we're all a cup of that same ocean. And then when we come together and we put our cups in that ocean together, we all see that we see from up here. When politics is down here, we can see from higher. It's a higher perspective that we're looking to get up above everything and look down upon it and say, man, we're not all these different, yet while we're different, there's a common thread in us. And that common thread is our heart. And that common thread is the love for our families, the love for our friends, the love for our communities, and we can't lose that, man. If we lose that, then all of society is doomed. So we got to come back together in that space, and it takes grit to do that because you have to leave a lot of the things that you say, I stand for this, and anybody who stands not for that, I can't even look at them or talk to me. But you have to, because you're going to be out in the world, and it's what it takes. What it takes. Hospitality will tell you that. Hospitality is the perfect example that it is not only possible, but it actually is the best medicine that there is.
We can only flourish together.
That's right.
And that's the reason why you can't stop restaurants, you can't stop sports, and by God, you can't stop Troy Grit.
Right, baby. Troy Grit, baby.
Well, sometimes blessings come in disguises. Like Garth Brooks says, there's unanswered prayers. You may be wondering, why are we wearing different clothes? Well, my dumbass forgot to turn the microphone on the camera on the other day when I went to take my transitions. This is, and this in fact here is take two. But it gave me two opportunities. Number one, to be outside on this stupendous day. It's gorgeous out here. It was not exactly pleasurable outside on the day we did the interview.
Right.
As we had a fire inside.
Yep.
And number two, I'm wearing my Troy Grit shirt today.
Yep. Love it, buddy. Love it.
Thank you for doing this
Appreciate
again.
it.
This is
Appreciate
fantastic.
it. Appreciate you guys being here. So
Zeke is the real MVP for this.
Nicely done, Zeke.
The real MVP.
You did a great job the other day, other than the whole microphone snafu.
And that was me.
That was Brian.
That was me.
I am no tech guy by any means.
Well, here at the beautiful Crooked Lake, as you can see, it's one of the most beautiful scenes that you could have. Up in upstate New York, it's one of its tiny gems. And all the people on the lake here are just fantastic people, and we're blessed to be here in this historic place. The Crooked Lake House, the hotel, part of the Crooked Lake House was built around 1840. And the ballrooms, the stone ballrooms that you see here, so you get a shot of the back of these were put on, the great room was put on around 1939, early 1940, and then the ballroom that you see here was put on around 1942. And the purpose of it was to bring big bands from the Catskill circuit up to upstate New York. A gentleman named Al Kuhn bought the building in 1935, and he was a bridge engineer. And he came up with his wife from Virginia to build a better life and build the Dunn Memorial Bridge in Manans. And he bought the hotel while he was up here. And it was just a stagecoach stop hotel on the way to the Berkshires in Massachusetts. So there was really like 16 small rooms, only big enough for a bed and a dresser at the time. But Al Kuhn, when he bought it in 35, he was a big vision guy, so he really wanted to have this place as a resort. And he had a sand beach over here, and he had a a glass enclosed swimming pool that you could swim in year round, and he had a 35-room motel up on the hill across the street. So people from downstate flooded up here as one of those upstate New York hideaways, much like the Catskills just a little further north. So let's go on inside.
Absolutely.
And then we'll go through the beautiful historic Crooked Lake House and let you see it for yourself.
So the Dunn Memorial Bridge.
It was in Manans. I think that's not there anymore.
Was that? That's not the one that crosses over into.
Is that the one that collapsed way back when?
It did.
You were probably, yeah, well, you were a little young. You were just a...
Oh yeah, I was a little peanut back then. But Al Kuhn, man, that design. Oh boy, I'd be a little terrified.
Well, when you see how the ballrooms were constructed, you'll see that he used bridge trusses because you have to get the expanse of having the dance floor wide open. And in the 1940s, it was all dining and dancing at the time, and that was the big thing. So people flooded out here, and it was the place that everybody came to. It was always a place of celebration, always a place of weddings and good times. So the vibe in here is incredible, and everybody says the same thing when they come here. This place kind of hugs them. That's because it's a party place. Come on.
And the vibe still exists to this day. I feel every time I come here.
Well, we were a perfect fit for the Crooked Lake House. We feel, as I spoke in our interview, in that our place in Lansingburg was also a stagecoach stop on the way to Saratoga, and that building was built in the late 1700s. It was one of the first buildings in Lansingburg. It was also a hotel, a stagecoach stop. There was all kinds of history of ghosts and murders and all this other stuff. Amazing history, and this place shares that kind of lore. Legs Diamond, the famous mobster, and his buddies, he used to come here and play cards during Prohibition. There was a speakeasy here. And when at the turn of the century, when it was just a hotel, Teddy Roosevelt was governor of New York here 4 years, and this was his residence for 4 years during his summer residence during his tenure as governor of New York. They had 2 stagecoaches that brought him back and forth from the governor's mansion, and he loved hunting and fishing up here. So his family would rent the whole left side of the hotel from July 4th until Labor Day when he was governor of New York. So this was his favorite hunting and fishing grounds at the time. And he was friends with Willett Brown, who owned the hotel at the time. It was called Brown's Crooked Lake Hotel. And he and Willett became great friends, and he would bring back all kinds of animal heads from his hunts, and they would be all over the place in here. So come on and we'll show you.
Did Teddy Roosevelt come here with his big stick too? Like, did he keep that in his...
He had the whole show going on.
Thank you.
So this is the back side of the hotel. And this was not the original entrance. The original entrance is down the hallway as we go down here. So this used to be a lounge area, but this entrance was built around the 90s. And you see these are all original floors. When we bought the place in 2010, all these floors were really, really dark, and we just stripped them all up and to find that these are beautiful mahogany floors in here. And the floors in there are the same ones that all of the dancing went on in the 1940s. Wow. The NBC radio show was broadcast from here in the late 40s and early 50s on Saturday mornings. It would be live from the Crooked Lake Hotel. All your big bands would be playing here. It was just insane.
Is there any old footage of that on YouTube?
I wish. I would have it if there was. And I always look for footage. And people do bring me photos and memorabilia from their times here when we have winter dining. So we get to talk to all the people that live around here that have had such great experiences here and grew up here. So it's just an amazing history that I love to be part of, and that Old Daley loves to be part of. So we feel blessed to be the curators of this great place for however long we are around. So
and it really is tremendous.
Yeah. Thank you.
You feel all that.
We love it, and everybody in our organization loves it, and they put their love into it. And it was when we first acquired the place. My partner Jim was up here for a year, just GCing the job to bring it back to its 1940s roots. And there was lots of infrastructure stuff to do as far as heating and air conditioning, and all that. Mm-hmm. But the beauty was always here. The bones of it are just amazing. So let's go down the hallway here. And
all those little nuances, like you just mentioned, heating, cooling, they can always be replaced. It's good when you have that foundational history.
That's so true.
It's something to build off of.
It is, and it's a story that is so great, and there's so many stories to be told that I haven't even heard yet. So this is a lounge area as you come in here. We've done a lot over the time that COVID was going on. We've done some of the things over. The whole upstairs has been done over, the bridal suite and the groom suite, and even the ladies' room in here. And the last time we were in here, you guys really just wanted to get in there and see that. I remember that, Zeke. And I really think that because all of a sudden the microphone doesn't work right after we get out of the ladies' room. You have to come back and see it again. So go ahead and look at it again if you want to.
Keep pushing me.
Yeah.
Come on.
So That's probably the only time you'll ever get into a ladies' room again, you sons of biscuits.
As he pushes me in the last time.
I mean, hey, the good thing about
are you fulfilled?
the good thing about the ladies' room is it's always a lot better, a lot cleaner, a lot, you know.
Hey, you're at the Crooked Lake House. Go in the men's room. You son of a-
No, not here.
How dare
not
you.
here. I'm just typically, you know, it's night and day.
Yeah.
We got cold toilet seats.
Yeah, come on.
Urinals that don't
So
flush.
here is a picture of the Crooked Lake Hotel before the ballrooms and the bar were added on, and we're going to take you into the bar next. But this is 1880 with the stagecoach coming in here, and the pump was run by a windmill in the back, and it's just, these are all the hotel rooms up here, and it's just an amazing spot. There was actually a first Crooked Lake Hotel in the 1700s across the street, but that burned down. And this incarnation we're standing in right now was built around 1840, rebuilt by a family, last name Mosier, and they're still a family that lives locally right here. So their great-grandfather built the Crooked Lake House.
I know that name, Mosier.
Yeah, Mosier, yep.
It's so familiar, I can't.
So many great people out here, so many great families.
See, now that's stonework across the way.
Yeah.
Is that the foundation of the former?
Yes, so
building?
that was the entrance to go up to the motel across the street. And now our buddy James Lilly, who owns Case Pizza, owns that land, and I think he's going to build a nice house up there for him and his gal.
Really?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Hope you do, buddy.
Case
So
Pizza.
let's go into the bar, and this is the oak room.
Yeah.
So we have our dining in here, our winter dining. Now we're doing our autumn dining series right now. So this was the original bar to the room, and you can see the original terrazzo floors, and all the oak in this room came from a day ship that used to go up and down the Hudson River in the late 40s, or in the early 40s. And the stone in here all came from Taborton Mountain right across the street, and Coonsey just trucked it in here. When he fell in love with the stone around here, he just put it everywhere. And there was a gentleman who helped him out. There was lots of stonemasons in the area, but there was a particular one who has his name carved in the side of the moat out here. And I just posted something on Facebook about that. It said A.W. Coon and J. Baxter, 1947. So they put that moat in because the place used to get flooded because the mountain feeds Crooked Lake, and Crooked Lake feeds the two lakes below it. So Coonsey put this creek in right here, and this guy, Clint Baxter, was an area guy, and the story goes that he walked in on his wife in bed with another man, and he shot him and went to Clinton County Jail and learned to lay stone. That's why they nicknamed him Clint. So when he came out of jail, Coonsey hired him to lay all the stone in his place. So only in Averill Park, right? So,
you gotta hire them pretty guys sometimes.
That's right. So come on over here and take a look. This is, you see in so many photos on social media, is our beautiful fireplace in the oak room. Even the furniture that's in here is 1940s, original to this room. So one thing we love about the Crooked Lake House is we like to keep it original and authentic, because that's what the magic of it is.
And I love the music really accompanies the camaraderie.
Right.
Like it really does.
Yeah, it's the time period. You walk back in time when you come in here, you feel it. It's just such a great vibe. So we'll go through the bar, take a good spin around and see with your camera, and then we'll go to the great room.
You can always appreciate a place that has Saranac root beer, though. I saw it behind the bar. That's the very best. Oh, now we're going out into the...
Yeah, we're going out into
the wedding section?
Yes. So as you can see, these are bridge trusses. This is how a bridge is designed for these beams, which allows the expanse to take place so that the floor is wide open. And this is where we have our indoor ceremonies when the weather is cooperative. So, and I met the first bride, as I told you, to ever get married in front of this fireplace in 1940. She was in her late 90s and came to dinner at one of the winter dining. And I got to meet her, and she got to stand in front of here with her great-granddaughter. It was the first time she'd been back into this building since she got married in 1940. So her husband had been long since passed, but she said she read in the paper that we were doing the dining, so her great-granddaughter brought her out here, and we had just the greatest time, and she was telling me the whole story about how she knew Mr. Coon and asked him if she could get married here, and he said, "You could be my first bride," and the whole thing. So it's just, every story I hear is just so rich, in history.
What a gem, and there she is sitting right there.
There she is. I said, I have to hear this lady's story. The first bride one, there's been thousands of brides to get married here over the years since this place has been around. So even this pillar over here, these used to be the original doors into the kitchen, but we built closet doors. These hooks in this pillar, Zeke, you can see them. They were all filled with taxidermied animal heads at one time. This place was a lot more Lakey Adirondack style, where, you know, taxidermied animals everywhere. And some of them were Teddy Roosevelt's, including we had a moose over here that when they had a big auction after Coonsey died, the moose sold for like $8 grand because, you know, it was one of Teddy Roosevelt's. So lots of good stories. Come on in here to the ballroom.
And that's amazing. You'd never know any of these details if you don't watch this interview. So definitely check this out.
Yeah.
This is the history lesson of Averill Park, right?
Right, and so this is the grand ballroom here. So this is where Tommy Dorsey, Benny Goodman, Glenn Miller, Guy Lombardo, they all played here. All the greats played here, right on that stage. And these are the original floors that everybody danced on in the 40s. They're still here. It's still amazing.
You know who's not going to dance on this floor? Me.
Who's to say? We're going to get you hitched up, buddy.
I'm not a dancer.
We're getting you hitched up. Girls, a very eligible Troy Grit bachelor here.
Indeed.
And we're looking to get people hitched in these days.
This is one floor that I will not be on.
Yes, all right, well, don't you worry about it. All right. You well. And then, you know, you've got this view, and this is one of the, and then in the summertime, we have the summer series that we just started here. You were up here for a few times of that, Brian.
Yes, I was.
And it was something that we had to do during COVID because we could do it. It was pretty much the only thing we could do, but it allowed us to expand our horizons, and we've been wanting to do such a thing where people could come over all around the lake, and the Lake Association is so great. These people around here, they gave us this dock this year. Check this out, Zeke. They pulled this thing over and put it in here for us, you know, mostly so they could come over here and drink. I get that, but clearly we do appreciate it. But it's just such a beautiful spot, and anybody who's looking to get married here or have a party here, you just can't beat it. And then we'll go upstairs and show you what we did over this downtime that we've had with the upstairs.
Thank you, sir.
Go right ahead.
Well, yeah, everybody's renovated. You know, there were restaurants that were closed for months back then.
Yeah.
April, May, June, just to renovate.
Yeah.
Hanford down in North Troy was completely different than it did before the pandemic. All new flooring.
As long as they don't start doing weddings.
Although, and I never seen this in Griffin in this, I'm more Market 32 guy.
Yeah,
I like the Market 32.
We call it the 32 in our house.
Market 32, well,
The 32.
The 32.
So to the 32.
Are you more of a 32 guy?
I am.
You see that, Zeke? It's a smart gentleman right there. Market 32.
I'm going to need a check for that, Neil Golub. That's not a free plug.
That's sponsor?
Yeah.
Check for that. What are you, Instagram now?
So up here, my wife is chatting away with
Oh, she's
clients.
fine.
Yes.
She's fine. Whoever appears in the video, I'm good. Oh. All right.
Hi, hon. Hi, guys. This is the new groom suite, and the upstairs was designed by our own Stephanie Pettit, my partner Jim's wife, and she's just so talented and very creative, and she had a vision for this room, and man, it just came out beautiful, so cool, and all the guys seem to love it.
I love the design in here. I think it's very relaxing.
It is. Yeah, part of it reminds me of an old library or an old Western room or something. I don't know. It just has a cool, relaxed vibe, like you said.
It does. Now this right here.
Zeke looks even more relaxed since he's been in this room.
He does. Zeke's temperament has definitely gone down since he's come.
Yeah, he's wishing there was whiskey in them bottles.
Just a little bit, yeah.
I thought I was going to ask. That's for the booze, right?
It is. I took it out because I knew you sons of bitches were coming.
Oh yeah.
You see, the guys have to get, if you're having a groomsman party, like you have to get schnocker. It's a prerequisite.
That's right. So down here, we put a salon in, and this is not quite finished yet. We still have some artwork to put up and things. So the girls come here for the day, and their hairstylists come in, and everybody gets their hair done during the day, and then the guys are quarantined to wherever they want to go and have fun. You know, the girls get the salon.
I had to
Lucky.
make sure the hair was fixed up.
Yep. Yeah, we're going to get that hair done for you, Brian. It's going to make it even higher. Like Conan O'Brien.
Extend the fro.
No.
You see, I can't flow, I fro.
All right.
That's the difference.
All right. That's all right. You get the height. That's what it's
The
all about.
height. I get the height.
I'm going to put this this fixture back up higher because of that. Look at this is our new little kitchenette. All the owners that used to live, that owned before, lived here. So we're the first owner that hasn't lived here. So Steph created this nice little kitchenette for the brides to have the hors d'oeuvres in between the salon room and the bridal suite. So come on in here and see the bridal suite.
I see you guys use Myers soap too.
We do.
Like high pedigree.
It really is something. Only the best.
Only the best here at Crooked Lake.
Yeah. And so this is the beautiful bridal suite. She's got her own fireplace in here too. Beautiful table, and then every room in here has its own bathroom.
Look at this room. Now this is unbelievable. Look at the amenities in here.
Yeah.
Now compare this.
Now, and this mirror over here makes everybody V-shaped and muscular.
Look at that.
Look at the grid in that.
Look at that. That just encompasses
I
the
gotta
grid
get
right
you
there.
an XL.
Now, look at this. Look at this room and the amenities compared to the little confined room that us men have.
Yeah.
And you can relate it back to the bathroom conundrum.
Yes, but at Crooked Lake, the women are the queens, baby.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And in life, apparently so too.
Now, I've got a little story here while we're in here.
Yeah.
So, a couple years ago, my aunt and Uncle Phil live on Long Island.
Yeah.
And there's this quaint little restaurant there called the Mill House.
Yeah.
And this place is phenomenal. Great food, great wings. So we were there on a Friday night, my parents and I, after driving down. That's the first thing we ate since we left. And it was around this time of year, maybe closer to Thanksgiving. So it's a little chilly out.
Yeah.
I went to the men's room. I've got the window open. There's one toilet in there, and the door won't shut. I sit down in this toilet seat, I'm like, yeah, this isn't happening. So, I go out to the dining area again, and I find the waitress, I'm like, hey, do you guys happen to have like a family or a handicap bathroom in here I can use? Because that men's room just isn't going to work today.
What were you, like George Costanza, and you had a little issue?
Oh, I have George Costanza issues all the time, the fat wallet, everything. So she's like, for this time only, I'll let you use the women's room. I'm like,
See,
okay.
I told you, Zeke.
Don't tell
It wasn't you. It was him.
Dude,
He's women's room curious.
I have to stop him all the time from going. I don't know what it is.
I win this thing, and it's immaculate. I mean, there's a space heater in there. It's a full room like this. Yeah, I mean, you've got. I'm surprised there's not slippers and a bathrobe in here. A heated toilet seat.
Yeah,
mirror.
No, you were treated like a caveman, sir.
I was. And then to top it all off, I walk out. There's a woman right there waiting to get in. I'm like, okay, long story. Just let me go back to my table.
Yeah. So you really just want the luxury of the ladies' room in the men's room.
Yeah, like why not? Why don't we have it?
Why don't we have it? I think that's another video.
That's a whole other video for a whole other day. We're like second-class citizens when it comes to bathrooms.
We really are.
It's unbelievable.
And I gotta go now. I don't know where to go.
All right. So this is the final destination here, right?
Yeah. So this was outside at one time. This was the back porch off the hotel, and then it's just a balcony that overlooks the great room.
Look at this. This is gorgeous. I love the sequence of chandeliers here too. It's really elegant.
Yeah. As long as you're not going to jump and swing on one.
No.
You looked a little like...
That's not my thing.
All right.
That's not my thing.
All right. Be surprised. Yes. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming up here because this gives me an opportunity to show everybody that great place in which we love to do. And we love to have people up here. And the more the better. And we hope you feel safe in coming here because we take all the precautions that we have to take. And we just want to get back and see our friends again. And we really hope to see you soon.
And thank you for giving us the opportunity to interview you.
Yep.
To interview today, Marty.
It's always fun, buddy. It's always fun.
It was a phenomenal interview, and I hope that everybody gets some kind of value out of this video. Everyone gets some kind of inspirational nugget because there's a lot offered. Just
we all need them.
One thing I hope that you can apply to your day to allow it to flourish. That's the purpose of why
Live
we're
life
here
with
today.
intention.
That's right. Live it intentionally. You know what you are, Marty? You're the Joel Osteen of the Capital Region. You really are. The Joel Osteen.
Coming from Troy.
we need to have you on Fox at like 11:30 at night.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. Zeke, thank you, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Is the microphone on?
Yup.
The microphone is on. We captured it all. Glory to God.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zeke. Really appreciate it, buddy. God bless.
Everyone, thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, like and subscribe below. Comment and whatnot. Thank you all. Have a great day.